So whether you call him Sid Vicious, Lord Humongous, Psycho Sid, whatever, Sid Eudy ranks as one of the best big men of the modern wrestling era. Big in WCW, big in WWE, basically excited the crowds from Canada, the States, Mexico, Japan, worldwide. Unfortunately, Sid, as we're going to call him in this podcast, has died of cancer at age 63. His his son mentioned he's passing on social media that he passed away from cancer. Now, he's best known for his tenures at WWF, now WWE, and World Championship Wrestling under the ring names Sid Justice, Sid Vicious, and Psycho Sid. 6'10", some people say 6'9", but 6'10", 317 pounds, pure muscle as well. He headlined numerous pay-per-views for both organizations, main eventing WrestleMania 8 and WrestleMania 13 in 1992 and 97, respectively, as well as Starrcade in 2000. Of course, he was the person that removed Hulk Hogan from the infamous Royal Rumble that Ric Flair won the title with a tear in his eye. Now, he entered wrestling after an encounter with Randy Savage and his brother Lanny Poffo. After being trained by Tojo Yamamoto, Eudy made his debut as he teamed with Austin Idol and wrestled a team of Nick Bockwinkel and Jerry Lawler. This was like in the mid-1980s. He then adopted a mass wrestling persona called Lord Humongous. He began his career in Continental Championship Wrestling in 87 under a mask and the name Lord Humongous. On Christmas Day 87, he won the NWA Southeastern Heavyweight title, Northern Division, going on to be the final title holder. Now, at the time, he was a late starter, of course. He turned to a fan favorite after rekindling a kayfabe childhood friendship with Shane Douglas, resulting in the two forming a tag team and capturing the NWA Southeastern Tag Team Championship. He also competed in New Japan, where he challenged Fujinami for the IWGP Heavyweight title under the name Vicious Warrior, but was unsuccessful. Eudy then made a very brief stint in World Class Championship Wrestling, where he adopted one of his most notable ring names, Sid Vicious, which he took from the punk rock musicians of the same name who played bass for the Pistols. Now, Sid Eudy, Lord Humongous, Sid Justice, Sid Steele, Sid Vicious, Vicious Warrior, Sid Cyclop, and Psycho Sid. Now, built from Marion, Arkansas, and Memphis, Arkansas, and of course, when the announcer said, wherever he damn well pleases. Now, he did retire on his 30th anniversary in 2017, again trained by Yamamoto. Now, in '89, he signed with World Championship Wrestling and retained his Sid Vicious ring name. He made his television debut in WCW by defeating Dwayne Bruce on the June 17, 89 episode of Pro. Originally slated as a singles wrestler, Eudy was eventually paired with Dangerous Dan Spivey to form the Skyscrapers. Now, that was a tag team. Managed by the great Teddy Long, the Skyscrapers feuded with the Steiner Brothers and the Road Warriors. During this time, he incorporated the powerbomb as his finishing move. The team was short-lived, however. Eudy was replaced by Mean Mark Callis after suffering a broken rib and a punctured lung during a match with the Steiner Brothers at the November '89 Clash of Champions 9. Now, following his recovery, Eudy was introduced on the May 11, 90 edition of NWA Power Hour as the newest member of Ric Flair's Four Horsemen, and he was billed by the ring announcers as being from wherever he damn well pleases. Sid was the muscle of the group, initially brought in to counteract the strength of RoboCop at Capital Combat. His first television match back was a 26-second loss for Lex Luger, Clash of Champions 9, which the referee performed a fast recount. In an interview in 2018, Sid stated the reason for a quick loss was punishment by Booker Ole Anderson for having seen playing softball during time off while he was rehabilitating from his punctured lung. Of course, he was a good softball player. As one of the Horsemen, he feuded with Paul Orndorff and the Junkyard Dog. He did attack NWA World Champion Sting following the Champions title match at Clash of Champions 12, setting up his first feud as a singles wrestler. At Halloween Havoc, a fake Sting, played by Barry Windham, in collusion with Sid, let Sid pin him after switching places with real Sting in order for Sid to win the belt. They were toward when the real Sting came out and bet Sid to retain the title. So we had numerous feuds in WCW. Now, this has got freaky. WWE took a chance on him in May 1991 by signing him. He made his WWE debut in the untelevised segment Attacking the Mountie following Mountie's open offer. He defeated Ted DiBiase in his first WWF match in a non-televised event in Calgary on July 8. Now, on Primetime Wrestling, vignettes began airing promoting his kayfabe debut as a face as Sid Justice. Now, on Superstars, he eventually debuted and was announced as a special guest referee for the main event of that year's SummerSlam when the Warrior and the WWF champion Hulk Hogan teamed up against the Triangle of Terror, Sergeant Slaughter, Colonel Mustafa, and General Adnan in a 3-on-2 handicap match. Later that night, Sid saved Randy Savage and Miss Elizabeth from attack by the hands of Jake Roberts and The Undertaker at the newlywed couple's reception. During this time, Sid defeated Kato in his first television match on an episode of Superstars in September. In a match with Roberts, he injured his biceps and was forced to miss the Survivor Series pay-per-view. Now, when he returned in the Royal Rumble, had a special stipulation. The winner would win the vacant WWE WF Championship, which had been stripped from Hulk Hogan. When Sid entered at number 29, he was among the final four, along with Hogan, Savage, and Flair. A lot of people thought Sid was going to take the title as he both eliminated Savage and then Hogan, leaving himself and Flair in the ring. Sid was yelling at Hogan. He didn't see Flair pull his arms, and then again he was eventually removed, and Flair became the new WWF champion with a tear in the eye. Now, Sid was in the play as well. He tagged later on with Hulk Hogan defeats The Undertaker and Flair at Saturday Night's Main Event 30. During the match, after double clothesline Undertaker and Flair, Hogan reached Sid for a tag, but Sid refused and walked out of the match, turning heel. Of course, Hogan won the match by DQ. Now, on the barbershop on February 23rd, he threatened Beefcake and chased him off the set before restoring the barbershop, asking for Hogan. Now, Flair eventually faced Randy Savage for the WWF Championship instead, except for Vicious, and he eventually hired Harvey Whippleman, his manager. He also began a post-match gimmick where he further injured his defeated opponents with one or more power bombs. Now, eventually, it was found out that Sid was not getting a heavy push because, again, he had failed a drug test prior to his WrestleMania match with Hulk Hogan. He was allowed to do the match and then went on their European tour. After the tour, he was told he was going to serve a suspension, resulting in Udi quitting instead of pursuing a career and pursuing a career in softball. Big softball player. At his time of his departure from WWF, Sid was about to embark on a feud with the Ultimate Warrior. The story being that Sid was angry the Warrior had stuck his nose in his business at WrestleMania. Now, the feud against the Warrior was replaced by Papa Shango. He returned to WCW for 1 year, and eventually Howard worked after Sid left. He would have defeated Vader for the title, but he didn't stay around because of bad booking. Now, in the USWA, he was there for 2 years. He returned to WWF, where he had his greatest success, had an alliance with Shawn Michaels and $1 million corporation. This eventually turned Michaels into a face again after Sid turned against him, and he eventually joined the $1 million corporation. Now, there was numerous feuds going on, but about 97, a lot of people felt it was time to put him on the belt. He showed up with the new gimmick of Psycho Sid with his music, and under this version of his Sid gimmick, he was a strident voice and intense character, prone to erratically unstable mannerisms, such as random contemplative stares off in the distance, excessive eye blinking, laughter turned sudden seriousness, menacing fist bumps with fans during entrances, etc. Now, he had a feud for a little while with various people, including Vader, Owen Hart, and the British Bulldog, but he eventually was a bodyguard for Shawn Michaels, but Sid, again, turned bad. He won the titles for Michaels in a very, very popular power bomb at the Survivor Series, but at the Royal Rumble, Sid lost the title back to Shawn. Now, he went on the independent circuit in 98, then in Mexico 99. He was ECW for a short while. in January 99, where he took on the Dudley Boys, John Cronus, Skull Van Crush, and Just Incredible. And of course, he left because he wasn't paid. Now, he eventually became U.S. heavyweight champion. His second return to WCW. He was unofficially titled the Millennial Man. Now, he defeated Chris Benoit at Fall Brawl in September 99 for the title, and then began a feud with Goldberg, who challenged him for the U.S. Heavyweight Championship at Halloween Havoc. Earlier that night, their backstage fighting led Sid to require stitches. Now, eventually, he became World Heavyweight Champion for a short while, and put in a match with and sold out, and eventually won the title, beating Kevin Nash. Now, unfortunately, a lot of the machinations, he didn't keep it for a while. Of course, the bad ankle injury he suffered was a near-career injury. During the match, again, which was at January 14, 2021, at a pay-per-view in Indianapolis, he tried an aerial maneuver. Despite his unwillingness, Yuli felt it unnecessary for a wrestler his size and type to do high spots, and he suffered a severely fractured leg following his leap for a second turnbuckle and attempted big boot on Scott Steiner that was in the match. He broke his leg in half, snapping both the tibia and fibula, with at least one of the bones breaking through the skin and rotating the foot without his input at 90 degrees anti-clockwise. The fracture was eventually too graphic for many TV stations to re-air, although it was shown the following Nitro. Now, it put Sid out of action indefinitely, and he pondered stopping wrestling for good. I had about a year left on my contract. I was thinking back then, prior to hurting my leg, what was it going to do as far as wrapping up my career? The only thing I really wanted to do was ideally go out at a big pay-per-view like a WrestleMania. A 43-centimeter rod was eventually placed in his leg during a 2-hour surgery to stabilize the leg, and for a while he used the cane to walk. He did later sue WCW, claiming he was made to jump off the second rope against his objections. Now, and of course, when WCW was bought up by the WWF, Yudi basically started during the independent circuit, including World Wrestling All-Stars and various federations, including the Canadian-based Internet Wrestling Syndicate, where he appeared to appear Carl Willette's mystery partner. Now, again, born in West Memphis, Arkansas, on the December 1660, he eventually retired on August 5, 2007, where he wrestled his last match of his career against Paul Rosenberg for Great North Wrestling in Ottawa. Now, he and his wife Sabrina, near Estes, were married on December 30, 1983 in Shelby County, Tennessee. They had 2 sons. Frank was a cast member of reality show Big Brother 14 and 18, and Gunnar Yudi was also a wrestler. A big fan of football, during his time off from wrestling, he briefly played the sport between 97 and 99 at a high level. Now, during of course, this is the incident that everybody remembers. During a WCW tour of Europe, both Udi and Arn Anderson were involved in an argument at a hotel bar in the English town of Blackburn on October 27, 1993. He threatened Udi with a broken bottle. After being sent to rooms by security chief Doug Dillinger, Udi later came to Anderson's room and attacked him with a chair leg, and Anderson retaliated with a pair of scissors. Udi received 4 stab wounds, and Anderson received 20, losing a pint and a half of blood in the process. The fight was broken up by Too Cold Scorpio, who was credited with saving Anderson's life. Neither man pressed charges against the other, and British police declined to do so since both men would soon be leaving the country. Udi was later fired over the incident. Now, he was arrested in January 2011 in Shelby County, Tennessee. He was initially pulled over and charged with not wearing a seatbelt, but he was eventually charged with a misdemeanor, possession of marijuana and driving without a license. He was later released on a $1,000 bond. Now, of course, unfortunately, on my birthday, August 26, 2024, his son Gunnar announced via his Facebook page that Yudi had died 63 years of age from cancer. Now, did some very interesting acting in Ready to Rubble alongside David Arquette and Scott Conn. He also starred with Kurt Angle and Kevin Nash in the horror movie River of Darkness in 2011. He also in the 2011 horror movie Death from Above, alongside Angle, Storm, Matt Morgan, Terry Guerin, and Jessica Cressa. On August 2nd, 2012, he appeared on Big Brother, where his son Frank was a contestant. Now, appeared in many video games, but for many, ladies and gentlemen, the WCW Four Horseman run, the Sid Justice and Psycho Sid run, he just basically such a physical specimen for wrestling, very, very popular, very, very over, and whether you liked him or not, you know, the big men of that era, okay, they tried, Paul White, he tried El Gigante, The Undertaker, and all that, and some worked and some didn't. But with Sid, what you saw, one of the best physical specimens ever. The man could destroy. Like I said, if he wanted to shoot on you, he could probably take you the next week. But to see him win all those major titles, just tremendous. But that injury in WCW, we figured it was going to end his career, and technically it did. But like I say, he was never the same afterwards because the fire was not there. So championships and accomplishments. American Wrestling Federation heavyweight title once. CWA heavyweight title once. NWA Northeast heavyweight champ once. Pro Wrestling Illustrated, comeback to year 96. Number 16 in the 91 ratings and 122 in the PWI years in 2003. Southeastern Championship Wrestling, Northern Division champ for the heavyweights once, and tag team title once with Shane Douglas. It wasn't really a big tag team specialist. USWA was Texas champion once and unified world title winner 2 times, which I think is the Lawler WCCW belt. World Championship Wrestling, World Heavyweight title winner twice, of course, and WCW US Championship once. World Wrestling Federation champion twice. Wrestling Over newsletter. He was most overrated, least favorite wrestler, worst on interviews, and worst work match of the year, but not to his face. Sid wasn't the best on the mic, but if he kept to the script. But what Sid Vicious, Sid Justice, Psycho Sid brought, again, one of the most natural wrestlers, and a very, very important link, because Shawn Michaels, Hogan, Flair, Warrior, like I said, the big man Vader, all the WCW, Benoit, everything's linked through Sid, because from the mid-1980s to the early 2000s, you had to go through Sid. Either Sid was around, anytime Sid showed up, the fans were tremendous. I guess he did a match in Montreal once, and half the fans were booing and half the fans were cheering. And he basically did the cue, but he stopped just to listen, and it was glistening. He would be lit perfectly, right? He looked literally like a cartoon, like a DC comic villain come to life. If you were going to do the ultimate big man, it'd be Psycho Sid. And I didn't know he was sick in recent weeks. I would have done a podcast. I think my favorite with Sid, because they had to find a way to put the belt on Flair, and he couldn't weaken Hogan. He could put up with Sid helping to get him out, but he couldn't put up with Flair helping to get Hogan out. Like I'm saying, he was the kind of guy. But like I said, a temper, and like I said, he almost killed a few people in his life. I think the only reason those people are still alive because he deemed it. But like I said, Randy Savage and Leapin' Lanny discovered this guy and said basically, there's an opportunity for you as a wrestler. He's going to be heavily missed, ladies and gentlemen. One thing about wrestlers, you don't live long, do they? You either die of cancer or misdirection or injury or steroids or whatever. It's a bummer. Sid, you will be missed. Brother, you gave so much happiness. And I once put it in the column, in my column, the Old Hamilton Tribune, if you see Sid Justice on your way home, don't talk to him. He might have a chip in his shoulder. That's one of the best things I ever wrote about wrestling, because he did seem to wrestle with a chip in his shoulder, because if he could make it go. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you like what you're doing here, a Vintage Wrestling Podcast, let us know with a like, comment, subscribe, or share.